Hey everybody, this is Andrew from the Guitarist podcast. Today we're going to be looking at my new pedalboard setup. It's not a new board, but the way I have it arranged is new. I just recently got a new pedal, and I'm really excited about that, so we're going to talk about that a little bit today. But mainly I just wanted to show kind of the basic sounds that I'm getting out of this new board and what I'm using it for. My wife and I have decided that we're going to start a new music project together, and it's a little bit different than what I'm doing in my own solo stuff, so I wanted a board that could do everything. So when I'm playing music by myself, I like to do a lot of like lo-fi stuff. So it's a mix of garage rock, lo-fi hip-hop, and then all the way on the other end of the spectrum, like the indie lo-fi stuff. So like your Mac DeMarco, things like that, like the bedroom dream pop sounds. So I wanted a board that I could just use for everything like that. So you want to get everything from like those noise rock, sonic youth sounds that I'm going to be doing with my wife, to old school 60s garage rock, to more modern bedroom pop. So that's kind of the thought there behind this whole thing. So we're going to do a little bit different than what we usually do in these videos. You're not going to see me a whole lot in the video. We're just going to jump to the pedal board itself. I'll be doing some voiceovers to what I'm doing on the floor, and we're just going to take it from there. Alright, so as we jump on into the pedal board, as you can see, it's 7 pedals set up right here. First we got the Walrus Audio Canvas Tuner. Just make sure I'm in tune real quick, Hate to start the video off out of tune. And we're going to be using, as you saw in the intro, my Fender my Squier Classic Vibe Starcaster, which that's going to be coming up in another video I'm going to be doing next week. I'm probably going to be putting a tremolo on this thing, so that'll be fun, or a vibrato system of some kind. Possibly. I haven't decided which guitar I'm going to do that on yet. So yeah, first we get the tuner. Now I do have the tuner set up where I have audio coming out while the tuner is engaged. So for the sake of this video and not being too distracting, I'll turn the tuner off. But usually when I'm just at home playing, I'll leave that thing on at all times, because I have it set for, like I said, the audio to pass through. So alright, and there you see I have a little picture of Bobby Hill on there. Hopefully it's picking up on the camera. That's my Purse I Don't Know You quote from a really popular episode of the series. Next in the signal chain, and I'm sorry if there's going to be an extreme volume boost with this one, is the Fuzzimp Machina II. Still have yet to do a standalone video on this pedal, but I did do a Fuzzimp video, I don't know, about 2 months ago, where I covered a bunch of different Fuzzimp pedals. So the right side is a boost/overdrive circuit. I consider it to be similar to the DoD 250 MXR Distortion Plus kind of circuit. I don't actually know the topology of that one, but it does have a germanium and silicon switch as well for your diodes. And then, yeah, pretty much on that side, it's just an overdrive distortion. Sometimes you can have it as a clean boost. And then on the left is your fuzz, which is all out. You can get crazy gated, sputtery sounds. You get a pretty standard fuzz out of it. I like to say anything from like a fuzz face all the way to a big muff and anywhere in between. It also can do some crazy oscillation stuff. So we're going to try that out real quick. We'll do the right side first. Just bumped my camera. Pretty significant volume boost there. I don't usually use that as a standalone drive, although it does sound great. I usually use that stacked with the other side of the pedal, so we're going to check that out real quick as well. Alright, next we're going to jump over to the left side of the Machina II. You're going to hear it's set to a pretty standard, generic kind of fuzz sound right now, but it does everything from a big muff to a fuzz face to crazy, just sputtery, gated fuzzes, and anything in between any of those. Very versatile fuzz, but I'm just going to use it as just a regular fuzz for the sake of this demonstration. Alright, next up in the chain we have the Keeley compressor. Switch it over to the humbucker mode because I am using my Starcaster, as mentioned in the intro. Now, I just use it on some of my guitars for a little extra sustain when needed. It does make a great clean boost. Now, I will say I get a lot of use out of that with my Strat and my Telecaster to add some sustain to those single coil pickups. What I really like to do with that is stack it with something like the Superbass or the Plumes, and I get a really cool, I consider it, when you crank up the sustain knob on the Keeley Compressor Plus, you really get, I joke around about it, but I say you can turn any pedal into a big muff with that thing because of the added sustain. Next up in the chain is the Plumes, which I use on mode 2, which is a clean boost. It can get dirty as you turn that gain up, but where I have it set right now, I really just adjust the tone knob based on what I'm playing and which guitar I'm using. So something like the Starcaster has really dark pickups. So I'll set the tone about noon. And here's the clean. And as you can hear, I really get a nice boost out of this thing. Not just volume, but like clarity. And then I use that a lot with my tube amps to just drive the amps just a little bit more over the edge of breakup. Right now I have my amp set very clean, just for the sake of doing this demonstration. Now, the Plumes is the pedal that has been on my board the longest. It's been on several of my boards over the years. The day that they announced this pedal, I pre-ordered it. Now, I'm not a tube screamer person, but the first initial clips that I heard of it, I was like, I gotta have this thing. And at the time, it was $99. I think as of the time of recording this video, it is $129. But yeah, I really fell in love with the sound of it. And it made me kind of open up my mind to the idea of using a tube screamer. Now, I will say, I don't really care as much for modes 1 and 3, which are I think mode 1 is Jamie Stillman's take on a tube screamer, and then number 3 is like a classic tube screamer sound. I could have that backwards, but I usually use it as a clean boost, or I push my amps over the edge of breakup just a little bit. Next up is the Keeley Superbasses, which is a fairly newer addition to my board. I sold my blues driver when I got this thing. So yeah, as the name suggests, it is a pedal amp in a box of a Marshall Superbass amplifier. Now, this one I ordered. It came out on Black Friday 2024. I just thought it looked cool. It was 99 bucks. I said, hey, I'm gonna take a chance on this thing. I think aside from my demo video of it, there's only like 1 or 2. Emily from Get Offset has one, and Keeley put out a couple of them. But I don't think there's really a whole lot of demos on this thing. But I think it's a great sounding pedal. I always refer to it as if you took a blues driver circuit like Keeley's super fat mod pedal. And instead of voicing it more like a Fender, which is kind of what the Boss Blues driver is kind of voiced like a Fender, you voice it like a Marshall. To me, that's what you get here. And I love this thing. I use it for heavier stuff, harder chords. If I'm playing like straightforward, like kind of like old school rock kind of stuff, it works really well with my garage rock stuff or even the punk stuff that I play. So this will be a great addition with the project Kat and I are going to be working on. So the Superbass stacked with the Plumes sounds really cool as well. Sorry if the volume gets a little crazy right here, but oops, got to turn my volume back on. So that's almost like having a 2-channel Marshall right there. Alright, sorry folks, I had to adjust my camera a little bit, but the Superbass stacked with the Compressor Plus, with the sustain turned up a little bit. I just tested it out, had a little bit too loud, so I'm going to turn it down just a little bit. But that sustain with the Superbass, you get more of those like big muff sounds I was telling you about. So here's just the Superbass. Although, when you're not playing, it does get very noisy in between notes. So it's Superbass stacked with the Plumes. Like I said, it turns you into a 2-channel Marshall kind of situation. Also, I don't know if I mentioned the amp I'm using is the Fender Bassbreaker 15 that I've been using in my last few videos. I'm very happy with that for my demos and stuff. Overall, I'm very happy with the sound of the amp as well. I will do a standalone video of the amp at some point. I know it wasn't super popular after the initial run because people found out that they're very difficult to repair. But we'll save that for another video. Now, next up in the chain is my newest pedal. I just got this the other day. I sold my Vox amplifier, and using some of the money from that sale, I ordered a Zvex Instant Lo-Fi Junkie. Now, this is a pedal that I have had on my wish list for well over a decade, pretty much since this pedal came out. And I've always wanted it. I've always really loved the sound of it. But for some reason, I just kept putting it off, never bothered to get one. I don't know why exactly. I mean, the next big thing would come out and I'd get that instead. And I've been hunting for this perfect modulated lo-fi sound. And I've been using the JHS 3 Series chorus, and the vibrato mode on that sounds amazing. Stacking that with the Keeley Compressor Plus, I get a better result using the Instant Lo-Fi Junkie. They're very similar, and maybe when I do the Lo-Fi Junkie standalone video, I'll compare that to the JHS with the Keeley compressor. And you can see they get a very similar sound, but this thing is just a little bit more convincing. So we're going to start with the center knob all the way to the left. Now, all the way to the left, you're bypassing the vibrato chorus controls. You're bypassing the tone knob. So you're just getting volume and compression. Switch over to my neck pickup. So yeah, all the way to the left, it's just a compressor. Now let's move it halfway up. And halfway up, you're probably going to hear a little bit of a hiss. Now that is completely normal for this pedal. I've read in a lot of reviews people are upset that that hiss exists, but that's what makes it lo-fi, is you get those weird, artifacts added over your signal. It's supposed to sound like that. Now right here, halfway between comp and lo-fi, this is really cool. You get a nice compressed chorus. Now you do get 3 waveforms on here. We're just gonna stick with where we're at right now, which is with the waveform all the way to the left. Now, as you go into that full-on lo-fi territory, you get the most hiss out of this pedal, which I think that's exactly what people are complaining about. But for me, I love that sound. Like with some keyboard, like I have the Yamaha Reface CP, which has cool like Rhodes and Wurlitzer sounds built into it. Like, it's gonna sound so good. That's almost exactly what I've been looking for. And it does it all on one pedal. I'm used to doing this sound with like 3 or 4 pedals. And then having like a chorus or a vibrato going while using like a Bigsby on my Jaguar to get the sound. Now let's just add in a little bit of that triangle wave. I don't know why I said a little bit, it's the mode selection. So yeah, triangle wave. Now you hear it has like that almost like skipping vinyl sound to it. You get the most of that kind of warped vinyl sound if you go to the square wave. And also, you turn the depth all the way up, you get a more intense sound out of it. Faster rate if you turn that speed knob up. But I'm just going to keep it set where it is for now. And we're going to turn it off. We're going to go over to the Keeley Caverns real quick. Now with my Caverns, I was stacking 2 delays on my board, but I don't really have room for it anymore. I was stacking it with the Walrus fundamental delay. Because I like to have one kind of longer delay, and then the Caverns I like to have it set to more than a slapback. I've got the light modulation on there. Rate set pretty low. Peak's about halfway up. I usually use a mix of either my amp reverb or the Caverns, or stack the two. Right now I have the amp reverb completely off. So we're just going to jump into the spring setting on Caverns. That is my favorite setting. I do use the modulated a lot as well. But the shimmer mode I don't use very often, almost never. I would prefer if it had a different algorithm on that mode. But I do love it. I love this pedal overall. It's probably my favorite pedal ever. Now, spring mode, blend is a little bit more than halfway up. Decay is about halfway. The warmth, I usually just set it depending how I'm feeling. depending what the song is. I do have it a little low. So we'll mix it up. We'll turn it up to where the blend is. Rate is just the tremolo effect on the spring mode. Again, depending on the song, I'll use the tremolo or not. So right now we have it off. So that's like my main guitar sound right there. So for my solo stuff, that's like my main sound. Now I can easily switch this up, give it a little bit more intense, better setting for the, like I said, the indie punk kind of thing I'm going to be doing with Cat. The bigger inspiration there is going to be stuff like Sonic Youth, Mudhoney, some shoegaze bands, kind of just have like a really heavy sound. So I might have to add in a second delay on this board somewhere. I might have to squeeze the Caverns over, put the Walrus back on there in like a reverse mode. But right now I'm going to see what I can do to mess around with the delay controls to get that good sound for the other band. Alright, so one last thing we're going to do before we end this video. I'm going to turn on the Lo-Fi Junkie with both sides of the Caverns, and this is probably going to be like my lo-fi sound for that project, like a lot of songs for this project. Alright everybody, thanks for checking out my video on my new pedalboard setup. Thanks for just hanging out and helping me dial in some sounds. I just wanted to kind of make sure everything was working properly. I hadn't even plugged it in prior to doing this video. So like I said, a lot of these pedals were ones I already had on the previous setup. I just wanted to try to integrate everything I could to get the best out of both projects I'm going to be working on. So I think this will do for it. If you like the video, please like and subscribe, all that good stuff like we always talk about. Catch us every weekend on the Bad Guitarist podcast. Episodes drop on Sundays. Other than that, we'll catch you next time and have a good week.